Okay, everybody, welcome back. Just want to go through and update everybody on where we're at. So, for the material design in XAML stuff, there was an issue with the pipeline. So, specifically in October, there was a slight change that occurred with the way Azure Artifacts does billing and caps. And so, some people may have run into issues if you constantly are pushing new NuGet packages into Azure Artifacts and you are on a free tier. There is a 2 gig cap. So, I got bit by that and had to go and do some cleanup, but I believe that is resolved, and the NuGet packages should be flowing again, starting with the nightly release from tonight. To start off, there was a localization bug that actually came up in the material design library, and I was going to walk people through the fix for it. I was able to track it down, but it seemed like something that might be worthwhile showing. So let's go there. Okay, so let's look at the issue first because it is not apparent that this is a localization problem from looking at it. So this is the bug report here. So ultimately, it looks fairly simple. The XAML is straightforward. You've got a button. It's got the flat button style, and it doesn't matter whether it's the regular one, light, mid, dark, accent, whatever. They all have the same issue, right? Of when the mouse hovers over them, the background color ends up getting set and effectively blanking out the entire button, which is not helpful. So the question came, what is the problem? So let's go and take a look. So if we open up the material design flat button style, you'll note that on mouse over, we have this converter that's being applied. So it's taking the foreground brush, passing it into this converter, sending a converter parameter of 0.16, and then applying that as the background. And that's ultimately the color that you see when the mouse hovers over the color. And initially, my first instinct was to go through and try to replicate this behavior. And I wasn't able to do it, which made it a little more interesting. And as the issue states on here, it doesn't seem to reproduce with the demo app, but definitely does reproduce in this user's app itself. So I had some offline conversations and finally tracked down the issue to be the locale of where they were located and what the app was running under. So the issue is this 0.16. So let's take a look at this opacity converter. So this guy here brings in the brush and casts it, which in this case, this cast succeeds just fine because we are getting a new brush, so we definitely aren't returning null. It takes the parameter, converts it to a double for the opacity, and applies that opacity here. Now, this opacity is a double, and it says that the value should be between 0 and 1. But there's no error if you assign a value, say, greater than 1. And that's where the problem came in, specifically with this culture here. So when you pass in the value 0.16, there are multiple ways that this, or multiple things that this convert to double will do. It will, 1, convert to 0.016, meaning a fractional number, right, between 0 and 1. It will throw an exception because in some locales that just isn't a valid number. Or finally, it'll convert to 16 because in some locations, the decimal point is represented by the comma, not the period, and it will convert into the number 16, which this solid color brush will happily take. So proof is in the pudding. I went through and wrote a unit test on this where we just iterate over all cultures, right? We're just going to blindly take this solid color brush, run it through this converter, and verify we get this expected opacity. So let's run this test here and see what happens. It's going to think for a moment, go and do some stuff. Then I believe if we come over here, the test will kick off. And you'll note we run into our first case, right? So format exception. The string was not in the correct format. If we specifically go through and do, so let's pick on a specific culture. Let's see here. I don't think I can filter it with just this enum, can I? Specific cultures, that's not quite what I want. All cultures where, let's just do it like this. Let's see. I think I want to do just name. Well, regardless. Let's just apply the fix and verify that it works. So Portuguese, specifically Brazil, is one of the problematic ones that will do it. So the solution here is switch this guy from doing the current culture, which is what you're going to get here, to invariant culture, because I need it to behave consistently. Now, this does mean if somebody is using this converter outside of this library and they're expecting it to use the current culture, they are going to be sorely disappointed, as this will be a breaking change. However, the next release going out the door is a 4.0, which is a major version rev, and so we can do breaking changes, which is great. That's what we want. So we'll just confirm that this guy now works and all is well. So test goes from red, and then it'll iterate over all of the cultures, and hopefully after it's done spinning through all of them, confirms that yes, in every single culture, 0.16, it doesn't matter what we pass in, we will get 0.16 for the opacity, which is what we want. Okay, so pull request time. Okay, so there's the bug number, 2159. Just check, what did I do here? We're going to discard that little bit. Let's see. Fixing brush opacity converter to always parse consistently. Yeah. So that is one of those areas localization is always notoriously bad about. Oh, that is the wrong remote. Sorry, I got to check my remotes here. I was playing around on other remotes, and now I'm lost and confused. Turn off some of these. Let's go to Origin. I want to go to Origin, and we'll push that there. Okay, and there we go. Okay, so that should go up, and we will go back over to here, and pull request should trigger and fire now. Okay, pull request this guy. Let's see, fixes pound, let's see, 2159. For people who aren't familiar with it, if you put, there's a couple magic words, fixes, resolves, I think there's a few others, but if you do magical word dot issue number, it means that when this pull request completes, it will automatically close the corresponding issue. So if you see people doing that on GitHub, that is why. Okay, so we'll just clear that guy in. That guy goes there. And that, we're going to let the CI system kick off and confirm we didn't break anything else, and then away we go. There was a couple other things I was going to look at really quick. So the Azure Pipelines one is an easy approve, because if the check passes, there's nothing more I need to look at. At some point, I might get overly motivated and just let it start auto-committing, but it is kind of nice to be able to tag it and whatnot. I think I wanted to go back and look at this drawer host, I believe, just got updated, if I'm not mistaken. So fix code review issues. So let's just take a quick look at these and confirm that these are, in fact, as we expect. Most of these, because there wasn't too many to change. I think just the dropping of the other one, and I think the rest of this all looks fine. Excellent. Great work. Thank you. We will do the approve, and then we'll get this guy merged in as well, because I secretly want to pick it up for the other change that I would like to work on. Let's see, milestone 4.0. I'm going to tack this on enhancements, and I think I'm going to tag this as a potential release notes thingy. Oh, that reminds me, this guy here should be tagged as a breaking change. There's going to be a lot of breaking changes in this next release. Boom. Ooh. I don't know if I actually want to tag it as such. The API hasn't changed. It's the behavior that's changed out from under it. Ooh, that makes it weird and fun. Okay, we'll ignore it for the moment. Okay, so I think we're down to just this. Okay, so next one, the one that I actually was hoping to get to. So we've got this guy here, nullable reference types. So for people who are not familiar with this is a feature that was added in C# 8. Oh, note of C#. C# 9 is coming very soon, next week. And if people are interested, there is a local user group that I am speaking at next week. So the Spokane.net user group. So if link is in the chat. So if anybody is interested, it is a free event. You just got to sign up and you'll get the meeting invite link. That'll probably come out close. So it's next Tuesday, and the meeting invite link will probably come out probably day of, I suspect, maybe a little sooner. Telling you where to go and how to sign in to get it done. It'll probably be via Microsoft Teams or similar. And we are going to cover all of the awesome new stuff that's in C# 9. So I am very excited about it. There's some really cool stuff, specifically records, target type new expressions are probably some of my favorite things that are coming that make me really excited. The C# 9 sounds really big and impressive, but there's not a whole lot there. And be aware, this is going to be specific around C# 9 changes, not necessarily .NET 5. So this is around just the language changes, not the whole framework and everything, and the unification of all of the .NETs that is coming. So be aware if you are interested in that. That is a free event coming up as well. Okay, so nullable reference types was a feature added in C# 8. So the idea being that in C#, all reference types, anything that is an object, is potentially nullable, right? And this is some people have described as the billion-dollar mistake. The idea being that no reference exceptions have potentially caused $1 billion or more worth of lost revenue because of app crashes due to them. Because a no reference exception is always a programmer mistake. They did a dot to dereference something that they assumed was not going to be null, and for whatever reason was null, and therefore boom. So null reference types are a way to invert that default behavior and have the compiler attempt to keep track of what things can be null and what things can't. But in order to do that, you have to tell the compiler, hey, I've checked this for null. No, null isn't expected here, that sort of thing. So that is what we are looking to do. It is also, again, a breaking change. However, in our case, that is not a problem because, again, we're revving a major version. So this is the ideal time to actually do it. So we are going to do nullable reference type. So I have a branch sitting out here where I started on it. And I got all of the easy ones done. So I did the colors project and the Ma apps project really, really fast. They didn't take very long at all. So between the colors project and the Ma apps project, 15 minutes maybe. Like, it was quick. The main app project, and this is just a first rev. I guarantee I've probably missed things. This was just getting stuff compiling. But the main app project, we got lots of stuff. Lots of breaks. So we are going to just throw this in, and ultimately I want to get not just the project apps, but I want to get the unit test projects going as well. So to turn this feature on, it's very simple. You go and set nullable enabled, and this will cause the compiler to throw a warning at you, specifically these 8600 range ones, every time it detects that you're either dereferencing something that's possibly null or not instantiating something or whatever. I've also gone through and turned on warnings as errors. So each of those warnings is now an error. So this is highly obnoxious, very annoying, and we're turning it on just so that we can make sure that these get enforced. Otherwise, the nullable reference types are they start getting treated as suggestions, and I'd rather make sure that all of these get handled. So I'm still on the fence about leaving warnings as errors on. It's a really good thing to make sure that your code is solid. However, it can be very obnoxious and difficult for newcomers to the library, so I'm trying to balance the trade-off of easy for the library to commit, really clean code. So it may be something that I turn off at the project level, but I turn on the pipeline. That way people get blocked from merging in, but they're able to keep working and whatnot. You'll also note that I did turn the language version up to 9. I suspect C#9 will drop before this PR is done. And so there's actually some stuff around like generics and being able to apply like the nullable reference type attributes to local functions that is incredibly helpful for doing this work. So I revved this up because I needed it at one point. So that said, we're just going to dive in. So the short version is I turned it on. I turned on warnings as errors, and I hit build, and now I've got a ton of errors. So we are just going to start working our way through these because there are probably going to be a bunch of them. There's also one issue in here that I'm not entirely clear how to solve because this pop-up EX class is not actually mine. It's coming from the controls EX library, and I don't control that. So that one's going to be interesting. Don't know how to resolve it. So we'll have to think through that one. So this guy here. So first of all, we're going to start with use expression body for accessors because while I'm in just making massive sweeping breaking changes. Actually, before we get too far carried away, let's rebase onto master so we can pick up those other changes. Because this is pretty much going to touch, I think, every single file out there, and so I'm trying to be conscious of trying to get other stuff in ahead of time before I go through and make everyone else's lives miserable. Okay, so expression body for accessors. Hey, figure it out. Figure it out. You can do it. I believe in you. I believe in you. There you go. Come on. There, you happier now? Okay. Figure it out. Show me the previews. Let's get this guy going so that... There we are. That's what we're looking for. Apply to the entire document. Pretty please. I've been somewhat tempted to go through and apply it to like project or solution level, but I've sort of been just sticking to individual files as I go so that I can clean these things up. So this guy here is likely being set not in a constructor and only on when the template's applied. So it's unhappy because at the end of the constructor, this thing is declared as non-nullable, but it in fact will be null. So in this case, with a lot of the WPF stuff, you just kind of have to accept that not null isn't feasible and roll with it. So that one is pretty easy. The other thing we need to do is we need to check all of these dependency properties. And any of them that are reference types, we need to add the question mark to them because those will all be nullable as well. But I don't, and this is where I'm actually worried that I'll have missed stuff going through here. Let's actually go ahead and do this too. I've been just sort of converting these to expression-bodied members because I like this smaller, concise syntax. This one I'm going to leave just because it's got the comment with it. Okay. So, for example, these guys here, it is very valid for value converters to return null. Same here, and here, right? All of those things are very likely to be null. And so we are going to just handle those there. Next file. Drawer host tests. Why are we at the bottom? Go to the top. Let's do color picker, I guess. Okay, so color picker, same type of thing. I know all of these things are set up as part of the template, so we're just going to make these guys nullable. Handle all of those. Let's see here. Let's go down through. I'm looking for dependency properties. HSB is a struct, which means non-nullable. Doc is an enum. So for example, this guy here is now calling out, hey, if this thing were ever to get invoked, right? And this guy were to be null, you now have a problem. So the question is, what should we do about this? Now, I'm curious. If I look at where this guy was registered, I have a hunch this is only registered saturation, brightness, canvas. So I guess that is actually a potential bug, because there's nothing guaranteeing that the thumb actually gets set. Yeah, that's actually a potential bug. So it's a hard to reproduce bug, but if somebody were to declare a template that specified the canvas and not the thumb, this would throw a no reference exception. So we'll do that, because same issue here, because that is a legitimate possible no reference exception. Okay, so we're going to do this. I don't like long lined if statements that are inlined. I don't mind the single line if statements, but when they get long, and I realize my font is set large and my zoom is zoomed in. But we'll do this. So this one here, it's worth noting. So this is a double property, and so putting this here makes the return from the right-hand side of the inequality a nullable double. And so you can actually compare a nullable double to a double, and this will not throw a no reference exception. So normally you'd end up doing like the get value or default or similar on here. But in C#, there's what are called lifted operators. So when you are acting on a nullable type, what it will do is it will actually be intelligent and lift the operator and do the comparison against doubles if this thing is not non-null. If it's null, this is going to return false. And so there's rules around when the lifted operators return false universally. But if, in this case here, if the nullable double is null, it will always return false for the inequality, which is perfect. That's what we want. Okay, so this guy down here. So this is wanting to saturation. Kind of thinking we end up doing this, right? So what's this going to do? Nullable double. What is null divided by a number? I don't know. So let's actually find that out. So let's use the interactive window. Come on. Visual Studio, you are struggling. The latest preview, I've had all kinds of just weird stuff not stop working. Where is the view? Other windows, I think, and then C# interactive. That's the magical incantation. Okay, so we are curious if we have a nullable double, foo, and it is null, right? What happens if I do foo divided by, I don't know, 1, right? What is the result of that? Null. And what happens if I have 1 divided by null? It's null. So the problem here is this has subtly changed it to be this var over here from what used to be a double into a nullable double, because like this is one of the bad things about var, right? So this is a double, right? This is double, and so it's happy. The moment I put the question mark, this whole thing becomes a nullable double, which makes this whole thing a nullable double. And if this ends up as null, null divided by number is null. 1 divided by null is null. And then we have to figure out what this should be. I'm somewhat tempted. I think what we do is this, right? I think I leave that as a double. I think we just do this. So if null, assign to 0, because 0 saturation, and we'll end up doing the same thing with brightness, right? I think in either case, if that thing is null, setting these things to 0 is probably the most reasonable thing we can do. That'll work. Okay, and I think that we're just going to change some of these out too. So equals equals null is generally considered the older way of null checking. The is null is more akin to a reference equals. The only time the equals equals null is a problem is if the type has overridden the equals equals operator. So it's only a problem if something has overridden the equals operator and they've done something bad. And more importantly, it's likely slower than just doing a straight up reference equality to null, which is fast. Okay, next up on the list. Okay, why do you keep jumping me to the bottom? And let's turn off IntelliSense. I only want to see build errors. Not interested in non-build related stuff. Clock on a button we did. Color picker we just did. We already did color picker. Don't know why some of these things are acting weird. Okay, so this is Boolean Converter. We got to change up the base type here. So unless I've missed it, the WPF library, so specifically referring to the .NET Core one, has not been updated for nullable reference types, which kind of leaves you high and dry a little bit. So let's do this. Bring you down. Okay, so Okay. That is fine. That is fine. That is fine. So you are fixed. Brush round converter. So once again, this is largely coming down to the idea. So here's the thing: is even though these are being assigned a brush, there's nothing stopping these from getting null assigned into them. And doing a mutable nullable property is a lot of work. And in this case, the previous stuff was allowing null anyway, so it's not that big of a deal. Let's see, we'll clean that up, Convert you to the expression bodied member is null. Great. Keep going. And this is also interesting. So I think this is actually like this. So a nullable array that contains nullable objects. I suspect the type parameter or type array probably is nullable. But I don't know that for a fact, and I don't think in many cases am I specifying it. So here's another great example, right? If this array were to come in as null, we would have a no reference exception here. And I think we can probably clean this up. Must specify two values. First value should be a Let's see, name of date time, and then we'll go to an interpolated string. Yeah, something like that. So what is this checking? So that's making sure that the first one is a date time. Ooh, we are in C#9. Can I get away with is not date time? Oh, yes. Yes. I was looking for an example of when to use this. There's a practical example. Okay. So the second condition is checking not null and not a date time. So the error condition is not null, is not null, let's see. I guess I am going to end up having to do this. Let's back this up a little bit. So is not null and is not legal to use in a pattern. So that'll work there. Let's see. Second value should be null or a name of date time. Boop, something like that. So it grabs the second one first, otherwise uses the first one as a fallback. Okay. This looks to me like a highly specialized one specifically tied to something in the calendar control. So we will leave it. Some of these converters could probably be made internal, but we'll get to that. That is not the topic of today's discussion. The topic is figuring out how to deal with all of these thingies. And so we're gonna do this, do this, do this, and this. Sure, we can use a throw expression, why not? Looks good to me. Okay, so what are we complaining about here? If the value is, oh, so if the array itself is null, so what we can do is enumerable empty, do that. That will require link, and what are you squawking about? Are you having trouble figuring out what you are? Let's see. Parentheses can be ignored. Does not match. Oh. It's unhappy because there is a difference between, again, the compiler now sees different types between the nullable object and object. So not the same. The same as int is not the same as nullable int. You now get all those same errors only for reference types, which is exciting beyond belief. So let's keep going. So there. I wonder, can you just figure this out for me? IntelliCode suggests the following. Apply suggestion. You figured out half of it. Good job, IntelliCode. Oh, did you figure out the other half? Yeah, apply suggestion. Yeah, again, you only got part of it. You're doing so good, IntelliCode. You're doing so good, but you're not You're not there yet. You'll get better. You'll get better. Okay, so this guy's already handling the null case. Hunting through. Looks good. Okay, and what do we got here? So, same thing. A lot of these are show 4 new IntelliCode suggestions. Oh no, not what I was actually looking for. More interested in yes, apply all. Ah ha ha, there's the IntelliCode awesomeness that we were looking for right there. Got most of them. Okay, so what is your problem here? So hint proxy is wanting a non-null reference, and this guy wants to pass a null reference. So let's go and look, because something's got to change. And I don't know, one of these two needs to be different. So this guy is passing into can build, and can build is a func. But the can build ones are delegates, and I believe these all appear to be tolerant of nulls. They are. So there's fancier stuff we can do in here, but I am not interested in, oh, IntelliCode, are you going to be awesome? Yes, you are. You are going to be awesome. Thank you, IntelliCode. Actually, you know what? The build one, I don't need to be... Build can be non-nullable. It's just can build. Because can build is ultimately going to end up doing the type check for me. So that'll clean that up. So can build will allow a nullable type to go in. Sure, we'll expression body that guy. See, is null to avoid the equality overrides. And then control goes like that. And so that can become nullable, right? Can build now accepts a nullable type, which is fine. Let's see. And at this point, I think we're just going to do a bang. So this is called the null forgiveness operator. And so because we know something about these, and these are all internal, I'm not overly concerned with attempting to address those. Okay. List view converter. So this, yeah, previously you allowed null, you allowed null. So we'll just allow all the nulls to go through, and we'll change up all of these to be null, this to be null, this to be null. Oh, come on, IntelliCode. Yeah, apply suggestion. Oh, thank you, IntelliCode. Loving you, IntelliCode. You are wonderful when you work. Oh, do my eyes deceive me? Missed one. Emphasis, you are lovely when you work. Let's just switch this guy up. Do you have a autocode? No, that's not what I was going to suggest. I was going to suggest if value is list view. Boom. Do a little pattern matching and clean that guy up while we're in here. Why not? Let's do the not converter. Any hints, IntelliCode? You going to figure it out for me? Boom. You got 2 of them. You did so good, IntelliCode. You did so good, IntelliCode. You missed a little itty bitty bit. Boom. Okay, so now we have a problem. Is this guy wants, if value... So what is happening here? Value as bool. So it's attempting to cast value to a bool. So if value is a bool, it will return that. Otherwise, it will parse the incoming thing as a bool. And it's returning it as knotted. Okay, so it's not just a type check. It's a type check and an assignment. There is a bit of an issue here. What should we do if value is null? I think what we'll do this, if value is null, return null. I think we'll just, I don't know a better way to handle that, so we're just going to do it that way. Short circuit it. Okay. And more value converters. Boy, we have a lot of value converters in here. And to some degree, you can start to kind of figure out in your library what is expected to be null and what isn't based upon usage. So if you were previously null checking it, you can probably assume it was nullable. But at the same time, sometimes it helps you find code that you realize later, oh, I didn't need to be checking for that. That was wasteful. Okay. So if value is not, so see this here is not, boom. There we go. Look at that. Look at that. Oh, the problem is this is doing a strong cast. We should pattern match this instead. So if value is shadow depth, we will do this stuff. Otherwise, we'll return null. This is probably the cleaner approach. Right, so this goes away. That doesn't matter. And this becomes depth. Killed too many closing parens. Yeah. So clean that. Clean that. Boom. Sure, we'll go to a throw expression. That is the wrong symbol. Let's try that one again. Turns out it is hard to type. Let's see. So this is unhappy because get drop shadow is a I'm pretty sure that's correct. Is null is a valid response because yeah, there's a null in the dictionary. So this guy just needs to understand that he may return a null. And clone may get a null and may return a null because I see both cases handled right at the very beginning. Okay. Works for me. So let's keep going. Data grid assist. So what is going on here? Sender, yeah, is nullable. And let's see. I mean, we can just do more pattern matching here. And sender is data grid. Data grid. Okay, that'll fix that one. And same warning there. Hey, morning, how you doing? We are just going through trying to add in nullable reference types into the library, which so far so good. Finding cases like this where we just assume non-null, which is probably true in most cases, right? Be pretty, like, it requires somebody, like, deriving from this and doing bad stuff. But I kind of suspect we're going to have a ton of these in here. Let's keep going through them. Where are you located if you're saying morning? Say, for me, It's late evening. Well past bedtime. But that's when the best coding gets done, right? Programmers are notorious night owls, I think, is the usual stereotype. Oh, we are missing some of these. Okay, I am losing track of where I am, so I'm just going to rebuild and get it. Romania. Ah, well then good morning to you. Let's see. So sender is data grid. Full night of Flutter. What are you building with Flutter? Let's see, what does that get me? Not converter. Huh? All sorts of mobile apps. That is awesome. I used to do a bunch of Xamarin myself, but unfortunately there just hasn't been a lot of opportunity in my day job, and my personal projects haven't necessarily lended themselves well to mobile development. I want to get back into it more because I really did enjoy it quite a bit when I was doing it. Okay, so here we've got a situation where the array could be null, and we clearly didn't check for it. So let's see here. If values is not equal to 2, because we can use the lifted operator again, or values, we'll abuse C#9, is not size, or values is not thickness. Boom. What do you... See, I think at this point we just say, no, you're wrong. And we say, no, you're wrong. I know better than you compiler. I checked it above. You're just not hip to it. Okay. I'm still a little confused why this is getting flagged. There's no way to get value as null here. I wonder if this expression is confusing it. Well, thank you. Hey, I appreciate hearing it. I do try to go through and post as much as I can. Most of the streaming, like I realize the hours I tend to stream are not good for most of the globe, and so I usually don't stress too much about my viewer counts because I do the streaming more for me than for anything else. So, but I am glad you've enjoyed it. Hopefully people have learned stuff. Occasionally my coworkers will tell me that they enjoy coding with me because they try to learn stuff. So it's always nice when I get to hear that. So thank you. Let's see, data grid. Just do the little pattern matching because we know that this code is largely working in everybody's library now. So I'm not really concerned about breakages there. Let's see, parameter sender, that one we fixed. Item source binding. So this guy was clearly nullable in the past, so we'll let him be nullable again. This is clearly nullable. Editing element. I'm going to assume that because this is an override of a WPF control, that nullable is very possible, if albeit unlikely. Okay, so session here. Why does it think? Oh, because the parameter itself can be null. Yeah. Yeah, so session close parameter is obviously nullable because you might not always pass a parameter. Therefore, this parameter is definitely nullable. Yep. That makes sense. Thank you. Any plans for an Avalonia port? So I've looked at it very briefly in the past, and the answer is I'm probably more likely to go to Uno first, because it's largely mostly done. I have to do very little work, at least for the WPF side of things. I've had a couple people actually ask for it in the past. And I'll admit I've only spent maybe an hour or two looking into what it would take. Um, I'll say this. I don't think I have the time to support an Avalonia port, but I would happily assist somebody and help get it in if somebody wanted to look at doing any of that work. I just don't think currently with my workload and everything else for the library that I would be able to realistically handle the additional overhead. But if somebody else was interested in biting off that, I would definitely happily work to make sure that it gets included as part of the package. Hoi vey. So what do we got here? So show internal as task of nullable object. So this needs to be task of nullable object. That's the first issue. We'll go to there next. You're going to be the same thing here. Clean that up, clean that up. That gets a little cleaner. Clean you up. That gets a little cleaner. We'll just keep condensing. Ooh, IntelliCode, did you figure it out? Did you figure out the pattern yet of what I'm doing? Apply. Ha ha ha! It learned. The AI infused stuff in IntelliCode is absolutely amazing. Again, when it works, it is pure gold. It just sometimes has a little trouble inferring what I want it to. Oh, did it get it again? Looks like it did. Oh, yeah, do them all for me. Ha ha ha. Oh, you make me so happy, IntelliCode. Oop, trailing white space. Clean that up too. You are awesome, IntelliCode. Keep it up. Get that white space too. Boom. Just for anyone who is interested, so the magical option, I believe, if you come over here, is IntelliCode. Yeah. So this is definitely still something that's in preview. I'm not sure if it shows up in the regular Visual Studio. It's been a while since I've actually played on it. Most of what I do has been on preview. But if you have it, go and turn it on. It is pure gold. Pure gold. And it's very cool to see how it watches what you type and quite quickly, in most cases, figures out the pattern of what you're doing and can very intelligently apply that pattern out across, well, what I just did was a whole document. So let's see, get owning dialog instance. This is first or default. So there's another case here where I don't like var with this. So this one we know is going to return a non-null instance because the null will be handled here. But I don't like var with nullable reference types in most cases because the var hides whether it's nullable or not. And I don't always think it's intuitive. Do you have a... You do. I wish it would have learned to put it on the new line. Okay. Looks better. Okay, let's go to this guy. What do we got here? So we're calling getValue. GetValue is a reflection method that returns an object. and we are hard casting it to an int. I think I just tell it to shut up. I think that's what we do. So we just tell it to shut up and trust me that... Wait, seriously? Possible null reference argument for parameter value. Oh, that's what it's complaining about. It's not complaining about this value. It's complaining because the value that comes out of the toString isn't guaranteed to be non-null. I think what we do is this. That's what it's complaining about. Now, that would require somebody passing in an object where their toString method returns null, which you should never do that to begin with. So to some degree, these things are, let's see, get theme manager. That is very possible to be null. Some of these things are just blatantly people not following best practices is the only way it comes up, but okay, so pop-up box. Let's see. All of you guys are template related stuff. So we're just gonna do that real quick and make you all nullable. And then we need to check our dependency properties in here. So for example, this is bad now, right? Is before it was object and now it needs to be nullable object. Because underlying all of this, it is very possible to be null. And let's see, type of, no. Does type of allow, no, type of doesn't allow nullable. But default doesn't make a difference, but let's be explicit of what we're expecting here. Data template is definitely nullable. Definitely nullable. Use expression body. Yeah, do all the things for me real quick, please. Come on. Come on. Execute. Execute. You can do it. There you go. So we'll just clean that up. These dependency properties is where I suspect I'm very likely to make a mistake in this nullable reference type stuff, because there's nothing in the compiler that's going to check this for me. So I'm going to get no warnings, and the end result will be people downstream of the library will end up getting warnings when they go against it with nullable reference types turned on, which is bad. We don't want to cause people undue pain. Okay, so you are definitely nullable. Let's see here. Definitely nullable again. We can get rid of that. You don't matter. Let's check this one. Another nullable object. We got a ton of stuff in here. I'm a little bit on the fence about using name of in this portion of it. As long as the convention holds, it works. Oh, are you going to figure out what I wanted? Okay, IntelliCode, you were doing good right up until you put all my stuff on the same line. Knock it off. You did pretty good. I'm now curious what the other 4 instances are that you quote unquote fixed for me. No. Bad. Please don't change the enum ones. No. The enums weren't nullable before. Don't change them to be nullable. No. Okay, so it didn't help that much. It got a little too overeager, and I didn't double check its suggestions. Okay, I passed an error here. Oh, that is just like that. Let's keep going down. I think that was 4 that we handled there. Let's see what the errors are now. Point to screen. Let's see. Pop-up point from last request is nullable. Let's see. So what is going on here? So on mouse enter, if we're on overeager mode, it goes to try and do some math to figure out where the pop-up point location should be. What sets you? Find all references. The setter occurs here, which is inside of get pop-up placement. I think what we're going to do is just... Oh, can we do this now? Yeah. However, in this case, I'm going to not do that. That seems like a great way to make this confusing. Very, very confusing. Is there no... I'm noticing we've got a lot of new points. There's probably some optimization here. But that is a problem for another day. Optimization is not what we're doing here. So this guy here... So hold on. Why Oh, because I just made you nullable. That was not correct. That should not have needed to be. Okay, turn you off for the moment because you're a struct, so that shouldn't have happened. Okay, so content presenter, where did you come from? Get child as. Yeah, this is just blatantly nullable. That was a mistake. You're now nullable. Controls. So if you are nullable, we need to handle that. So we will do enumerable empty. And what is the type here? Button base. If I could type, that would be helpful. That cleans that up. Okay, let's keep going. In the capture, where is this thing? Okay. Is descendant of... Let's see, so leaf, get visual ancestry. This can technically be nullable, right? Is it possible? I'm just wondering if this should be a nullable return type. So if we come in here, if this is null, this will break and this won't return a null, right? Get parent will return leaf. I don't think this is possible to return a null here, because leaf is explicitly null checked in every case before we would yield return. It's not. So let's do is not null. Yeah, we'll do the same thing down here. So again, the only advantage here is in the weird event that somebody had overridden the equality operator and done something not very naughty with it. Okay, so in this case, leaf could be null. So this actually works if that's null. And ancestor, though stupid, could also legitimately accept a null. Okay, so we'll let that go. That one will handle it. Okay, so pop-up box. I think we do this and this. Hey, good morning. How are you doing, Zian? You are not possible to be. Let's see. Can the pop-up box be null? Yes, it could be. So right now, this is not a specific app, but this is a WPF library. So specifically, this is the pull request that I am working on. So it's a library for using Google's material design inside of WPF apps. I think we should make pop-up box set explicitly. So it's not a direct app, but to answer your question, WPF in general. But at the same time, having a little bit of fun learning C#8 nullable reference types and abusing some of the new C#9 syntax because I can. So, for example, is not null. Woot woot. I appreciate the compliment on the library. I work on it because I find it really, really fun to do. So if something about this is just looking weird to me, because if mouse captured is null, I guess this is an OR condition. Man, this just reads really, really funny. Okay, so we're gonna start with this. If rather than just always assuming this is the case as pop-up box, right? And actually, we're just gonna drop right in here. If pop-up box is null, or boom. Yeah, I will say there's a, if people haven't seen it, I'll go show this off too. On the wiki page, I started a project using material design. So if you want to get an idea of what you can do with it, every time I see somebody using the library, I try to point them to this wiki page. And so if you build anything cool with it, I encourage everybody to contribute back to this wiki page. It's public. Anyone can add to it. I just ask that you put it in alphabetical order. But it gives a pretty good idea of some of the fun stuff that people are building with it. And a lot of people actually, because it works with MAW apps as well, so anybody using that, there's good interop there as well. So if you want something additional, because this library is very specific to just material design, and sometimes people want, say, additional controls, or they want to control the window Chrome and that kind of thing, which is a little outside the scope of this library, but you can get it pretty easily. Okay, so that handles pop-up box. Now that we've made a mess of it, let's go into screen. So, in the interest of me not losing my sanity, close all but this. Okay. Where were we? Nullable reference types. Sender on this method should be nullable. Sure. Sure. I'm okay with that. Oh, come on. Come on. Figure it out. Figure it out, IntelliCode. Come on. How many is it going to take? Third time's the charm? Oh. Suppose we can just do the refactoring. That'll work too. Go and convert them all for me. Okay. I'm also horribly addicted to Mountain Dew, which you can't see because my green screen blacks it out. but I promise it's bright green. Fortunately, I have one more. Okay. Okay, so that handles that. That handles that. I think I picked up all of them. There. What is the error here? Nullability of type object does not match overridden member. Ah, this guy is supposed to be nullable. Okay. That works for me. Let's see, it's sender. We already fixed that guy. Smart hint. Hui. So what do we got going on here? So this guy clearly should be allow null because he's going to handle it. And then all of these guys need to be marked as nullable. Apply all 4 suggestions. Oh, that is just so wonderful. Oh. Oh, IntelliCode, you make me so happy sometimes. Oh, you make me so happy. Okay, and that... Let's go back here and rebuild again just to see our error counts go down, I hope. And again, nullable reference types don't technically cause errors. They cause warnings, but I've turned on warnings as errors. So that's why these are being big and yelly in my face. Oh, IntelliCode. Oh, you are so nice, IntelliCode. Okay. If any Microsoft engineers who have worked on IntelliCode are watching this, please message me. I would like to buy you a drink. That looks really funny without the braces. To the point of being absolutely misleading. Okay, so let's check out the snack bar control and see what we got. Okay, so I've done enough work here to know that you are definitely nullable. You are definitely nullable. You are definitely nullable. It's not causing a warning or an error. I know. It's getting smarter. It's getting really good. I don't know if I'm quite worried about my job getting replaced by him just yet, but yeah, it is getting to the. It is getting close. It's actually not too far unlike. So JetBrains' ReSharper has had something similar in their static analysis for a while, and it's been very good. It's just it's always killed performance of my Visual Studio when I've used it. And I go back and forth on my love of JetBrains products. Like, they make really good stuff, and Writer is a pretty cool IDE to use. But ReSharper, it's always hard for me to justify the trade-offs in what I see as slowdowns. Clean that up to an is. Yeah, that's the key part of where the human always will win. The moment I think I saw somebody on Twitter comment the moment clients can clearly articulate their requirements will be the moment programmers can be replaced by computers. That's just an enum, so that's fine. Oh, yep, that is nullable. That is definitely nullable. I only know that one off the top of my head because I built it, so it makes it easy. Let's see, that is clearly a nullable return type. And that's the other thing. As soon as you... yeah, completely agree. I think our jobs are fairly safe. Oh, let's switch this out. So also C# 8 added switch expressions. So this becomes this. It's a little thing, but it's just a little bit nicer. A little bit nicer. Okay, so both of these we know to be nullable. And I assume these are just being used in equalities. So as long as they match, everyone's happy. Cool. I think that is fine. That could be an else if. Yeah, because these should always be mutually exclusive. Okay, that's fine. Just wanted to make sure I wasn't introducing bugs. Okay, so this is once again on the sender there. Jump me back. Sender there. I really wish it would show this warning at the declaration of the event, not the usage of it. Because now I get flagged multiple times over for the same thing. Okay, so let's see. Transitioning content base. Yeah, because I can see all of these get applied inside of on template, so all of you are nullable. Because until the template gets applied, none of you will exist. And even then, the template doesn't guarantee that those will be set. Is this a instance member? It is. Okay. Let's see. This guy should be nullable. Nullable. Time spans a struct. Is null. Is null. Ooh. Is not null. Look at that. Something like that. What are you suggesting here? Do you have a reason behind using vars versus actual types? So, yes-ish. So I'll share this as well. So IntelliTech coding guidelines. So the company I work for is called IntelliTech, and we have some coding guidelines that we've published. These things are largely based on, let's see, Essential C#. They are largely based on this book here, Essential C# 8.0. So most of these guidelines are directly lifted straight out of that book. And full disclosure, my boss is the author, and I'm one of the technical editors on it. So I'm heavily biased. In general, though, so the guidelines as we've put out there are a little bit loose, somewhat intentionally. The arguments for using var everywhere usually go something along the lines of most of the time the type is pretty obvious, and it also helps with refactoring, similar things like that. I tend to like only using var when the type is obvious. So for example, this, right? It's very clear to me that storyboard, the variable storyboard, is a storyboard type. Anytime where var is not always obvious, like this one here, I would tend to make the argument that that should be the explicit type, because just looking at this line, I had no idea that this was a timeline. And it gets even worse when you add in nullable reference types, because now you don't know whether the var, I think, makes it even more confusing. You may know the type, but you may not know whether it's nullable or not. So I think it adds to some confusion, and so I would tend to do this. C#9, the standards are going to switch, I think, a little bit more to doing this instead. Because then all of your type names end up on the left side, and you can affect all the important information as you read it goes left to right. So rather than having to read all the way to the right to figure out the type of the thing on the left, all of that is contained together. And this gets really fancy and useful around like deep generic types like dictionaries, because nobody likes typing out all those generic types. That's a big pain. That's the other argument for var is I don't want to type all those characters. That's a lot of keystrokes. And I think this kind of gives a happy medium, because this new here is effectively getting what everybody liked with the var. So I'm going to put that back for now. I'm still trying to decide how quickly to force everybody into using C#9, because if I merge this right away, it means every person contributing to the library has to update their Visual Studio to the latest 16.8. So it's like, it's going to happen fairly rapidly. I believe Tuesday is the launch date. And so I'll probably kick this thing over to that fairly soon afterwards, but I try to be conscious of not making this library hard to contribute to. Yeah, and I think in most cases the argument for or against var usually comes down to arguments of readability and how obvious it is, which is part of why, like, our coding standards are intentionally vague to the point of saying only use var when the type is obvious. The problem is, what is obvious is kind of a subjective call. What's obvious to me isn't necessarily obvious to the next guy who looks at it. So we try to be a little conscious of that, but in general, I would say we definitely favor being a little more verbose if it saves on clarity, because the loss of clarity is rarely worth it. What is your problem here? Oh, it's interesting that old value. Oh, because of the null checks up here. Okay, I was like, how did it know for one and not the other? Compiler, you so smart. You so smart, compiler. Okay, so that goes there, that goes there, that cleans that up. I've just sort of been spot checking these things as I go. Okay, pop-up EX. This is the one I can't fix, because this code doesn't technically live in my library. It's being imported from outside. We might have to take a detour at some point and address this. So there are several code files. There's 3 in particular that are brought in. If we go up here, packet dependencies. So we don't use straight up NuGet. We use packet, which is, I'll say, a competitor to NuGet. The convenient thing that it has is centralized location for managing all of your package versions, which NuGet technically supports this now. Most people don't know about it because there's no GUI support. If you want to turn this on, there's a special, what is it called? I'd have to go look. It's like NuGet.props or something like that, where you can specify all of your package versions once at the root of your solution, and then in your individual projects, rather than having, oh, I don't have any because I don't have it. Rather than having package reference inside of each of these, you just have a package reference without a version, and so you manage your versions in one centralized location. So if you want to rev one package, you don't have to, Solution Explorer, try to track it. There's one spot. The other thing Packet does, though, is it allows you to pull from more sources than just NuGet. So in this case, it's actually able to go and file link in and download straight up C# files from a GitHub repo at a particular commit hash. So that's kind of cool. But it also means that if I edit this file, it's not going to do jack, because on the first thing it does is re-download a new version. So I either need to turn off nullable warnings for this file, which is kind of difficult to do because normally you do that with like #nullable. Ugh. I'm kind of wondering if at some point in time I've actually contemplated ditching Packet, because these few things that it gives me are not. Yeah, it's very similar. It's based on, I believe, how F# does their package management, which it's very clean and slick, but the amount of confusion it causes for people contributing to the library is really high. And I don't, because I can get this functionality with regular NuGet now, I'm not sure if I can justify the complexity and the confusion it causes for new contributors simply to file link this in. So I've been contemplating alternate means of either just manually bringing in these files and making a clean break. The other drawback is because MAApps also uses this Controls-EX library, there's a namespace collision that occurs if people are using both this library and MAApps. And you can resolve it, but it's non-trivial and you kind of have to know what you're doing to do it. So it's like I ended up documenting our wiki because we got a whole bunch of issues all at once on my last release, because I didn't realize that naming collision was there until after somebody hit it. So there's a few problems that would go away if we did a clean break away from packet. So, and it's also worth noting the unit test projects aren't using this, largely because I anticipate moving away from it and I didn't want to add overhead. So, oh, I just spent time changing this thing up, didn't I? I did. Same namespace. Dang it. So that's not going to do anything. Let's go and look at that real quick. It's not even in source control, is it? Nope, not even in source control. Great. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to go right to the top, pound nullable disable, because I don't want to think about you right now. So we're just gonna do that while we're fixing this nullable stuff. We'll just turn it off for that file and not worry about it. Whoa. Are we really down to just 2 left? That doesn't seem right. That's kind of exciting. Let's see here. So what did we just do? Good old denial. Yes, my close friend. Okay, so let's just, I think the easiest thing here, if sender is dispatcher timer, boom. I think we'll just do that. Yeah, well, I guess we don't need to include the last one. Oh, no, we do, because that's where the tuple comes from. There, problem solved. Problem solved. I think the problem solved. Whoa. Okay, quick, commit. It compiled. Okay, well, that doesn't seem likely. Main library compiling. So that's the first test, right? The first unit test is, does it compile? And we got past that. So that's pretty good. Okay, so I think something I want to look at doing real quick, because the remaining ones are going to be in all of the test projects. And I think what's probably worth doing is a directory build props. I don't think we have a directory build props. Huzzah! So there's a couple magical files that if you put at the root of your repo with this name, it will automatically use these values. So we're just going to dump that in real quick. So for example, these are all common properties across all of the projects. And so we're just going to do, pick that up. We're just going to dump that into the build props. Boom. And now all of my projects have it, and we can go and remove that off of all of these guys. Boom. And this guy, we can get rid of lang version 2 because that's no longer a thing. As you noticed, it is possible for people to go through and override those things individually on a project by project basis, but it's a nice clean way to have some defaults. Now that should cause a significant number of warnings. Because that should trigger them across all the demos as well as the unit test projects. So if that doesn't make a big mess of everything, I don't know what will. But the main libraries, yeah, it's 70 years. That ain't bad. That ain't bad at all. Should not be. Wait, is this? This is fluent assertions, right? Shouldly. Wait. I'm a little confused because I don't remember writing these tests. Wait, are you hip to... Wait, I'm confused. Should... Ahaha. Well, look at that. These guys are hip to nullable reference types. So let's just clean this up. I don't remember bringing these in. I don't mind these tests. I'm just shocked that I don't recognize them. Okay. Extra tests that I don't remember being there. Okay, so we've got a potential null ref on this guy. Same thing here. ToString could return null. So we're just going to do that for now and call it good. This is just the demo app, so I don't care as much about the demo app. So what is this guy squawking about? So this guy's complaining demo restart countdown text is declared as non-nullable. Well, where is it? This guy here. So he is, we're going to make the string nullable, and that will resolve that. Property changed. Yeah, well, property changed would be null, wouldn't it? So we'll do this. At some point, I may go through and rev. There's a desire to have the demo app not have any dependencies or show favoritism for one MVVM library over another. However, at some time, it means you end up rolling your own. And the only problem I have is that I know a lot of people end up somewhat copying the code out of the demo app. And I'd feel a little better about that if I was happier with how the code was in the demo app. Let's see, you be a nullable string. We'll just make that happen because null is legit there. Okay. So took there, took there. So snack bar message queue is nullable. Don't feel bad. I actually copy stuff out of the demo app all the time for myself as well. That's actually the little control where you can click on it and see the XAML that goes along with each of the controls. I actually built that specifically so that people could easily copy out of the demo app. Because for a long time, there was a constant stream of questions of people saying, hey, I see this in the demo app. How do I get it out? It was like, here, I will make it dirt simple to copy and paste. And for the most part, that's not too bad. The one thing to keep in mind is the demo app is designed to show the breadth of what's possible. And rarely in any app should you use everything in every possible way, right? So, done with caution, it is fine. Let's see, this is another property changed flag. Where is property changed on here? Where are you? Where are you? There you are. You are nullable. Which is fine, because as you can see, this thing should be checking it before invoking anyway. So, boom. Problem solved. Button to hex converter. Oh, look at that. We've got converters in the demo app, which we get to do this whole number again. Yeah, that's the lack of cross-platform support in WPF was part of my motivation for looking at Uno. The only drawback is Uno builds their cross-platform stuff is great, but they get it by basically standing on the shoulder of giants. So like they get a lot of their platforms by like building on top of Xamarin and that sort of thing. But they do it by giving a really nice cross-platform UI. It's very WPF or WinUI XAML, which is great, um, and works rather well. The big issue is there's a lot of stuff in this library that's very tightly coupled to WPF, and so separating that starts to become a little bit of a challenge. So because I have wanted to build out more of these. The other thing is going into something like Xamarin Forms, the Xamarin team's already done a variant of material design built in the box. So you'd end up competing with that. So I'm a little more hesitant to move that direction. There is also a large school of people that don't like the idea of material design on Windows. The rationale usually goes something like, we don't need it on Windows. Windows already has Fluent design. We don't need material design as well. Go with the native Windows look and feel, which is fine, except for I think allowing for that choice is very reasonable. And darn it, material design looks really good in my opinion. Okay, so just a bunch of cleanup there, not a lot to do. Okay, so what are you squawking about? Content. Must be a non-null value when exiting the constructor. Why do I have a content? Oh, interesting. Native Windows design on Mac and Linux. Yeah. Yeah. So we're just going to do that, and that'll fix one of the problems. And then it's just property change. Basically, it doesn't know that mutate verbose is going to actually handle it. And honestly, calling mutate verbose isn't not that much of an advantage in the constructor, calling the setter versus the vacuum field. It's going to raise property change, and because you're in the constructor, nobody could be listening for it anyway. I don't know where it's getting those naming rules. Probably need to review my editor config. Okay, sample for content. So I can guarantee you're unhappy about that. I'm going to go with sample for content is probably right about there. You need to be nullable to go with that. I think you could render WPF on web using Blazor, but I'm not 100% sure. I've actually looked at that a little bit. It's really cool, the stuff that they're doing. You could certainly probably get a variant of this library working out there on Blazor. It's the same. The issue with Blazor is the same issue that you have with like Uno or Avalonia. Is the general XAML, the syntax you can lift and shift pretty easily and drop it in, but then you have to start removing all the WPF specific bits and switching those out, and that's the hard part. But yeah, the Blazor stuff looks awesome, absolutely awesome. I played with it for a little bit, just kind of messing around. And as somebody who does a lot of WPF development and not a lot of web development, Blazor is exactly what the WPF dev wants for web development. It makes your life very, very happy. Sure. Okay. Go ahead and collapse that one up for me. What is your problem here? What are you suggesting? No. That is not what I want you to do. Okay, so what is your problem here? Parameter may be null. Okay, well, we'll just pattern match this thing away. Is bool parameter, and then we'll go and parameter is false. There, problem solved. Just pattern match it out of the way. Property change we already took care of. Unboxing a null value, we took care of that by pattern matching. There's amazing how many of these nulls you can get rid of just by pattern matching your way to victory. Okay, so you are clearly nullable, which is fine. What does that mean down here? Demo page link. You need to accept a null. And both of you need to be accepting of nulls because both cases are passing nulls. Okay. Namespace is one word, not two. Well, that's why it was capitalized. Got it. Sure. Don't want to change too much. Use expression body there. Yeah, when this PR merges, I can guarantee it's going to cause anybody with active development a little bit of churn. Okay, so I think clean up my usings. Yeah, go ahead and save. Okay, so we took care of document link, lids and grizz. What is your problem now? So property changed again. I get it. You're unhappy. You want this to be nullable. I understand. I understand. Really wish you would figure out that I want that on a new line. Very next feature request. I want IntelliCode to be smart about new line characters. Another reason it won't take my job soon. It can't figure out the new lines. Where is this property changed event? There you are. Gotcha. Gotcha. Demo item, selected item, keyword. Let's see. Demo items, you're not set in the constructor. Okay. Next. Come on. Come on. Give me the air. Selected items, search keyword. Selected item doesn't surprise me. Search keyword doesn't surprise me. Does mean that I need to change you to nullable. Let's see. Okay, why? So I understand why the selected item is nullable. I don't understand why demo items is nullable. I would have expected, oh, is it because it's set here? Yes. It's because it's set outside of the constructor. Yuck. Hey, thanks for coming and hanging out, AD. Appreciate all the feedback. I'll probably be clocking off here in like 15 minutes anyway, so you won't be missing much. But hopefully I will see you back on here again. Let's see here. So this guy is clearly nullable. That is a true thing. If it's null or white space, that is not possible, right? Because to get here, this would have to be false. Not sure why it's confused on that. I thought that was getting fixed. Okay, so this guy here is technically nullable for no other reason other than he's set outside of the constructor. We could fix that, but ugh. It's working now, not worth fixing. Awesome. Glad to give you a reason to get up in the morning. Okay, so string name. Let's start here. Yep. This is not set anywhere, so therefore it is nullable. And then we'll clean you up. Does make we want to make a bit of a base class for all these things, but okay. So let's see, name, description, food, which I think is going to probably propagate to. Ooh, is it going to do it for me? Oh, so nice, so nice, so nice. Okay, let's take a look here. Name, description, food, property changed, fixed template. Yup, that would be nullable, which means you are nullable. Okay, so who are you squawking about? Name 2, select text 2, and property change. So all 3 of these fields and the property changed. Lots of question marks everywhere. Let's see. Like that, like that, like that. And then this guy goes nullable. And this guy, content is being passed as null. So I guess in that case, if content's going to be nullable, we can put this back to going through the property. And you can become nullable. And everyone's happy again. Clean up my using statements. Those are all fixed. That's all addressed. Let's go here. Let's see. Definitely nullable. Definitely nullable. Definitely nullable. Yeah, nullable. What are you unhappy about? Is it going to be another selected item and property changed? Well, that seems very reasonable. Because after construction, there will be no value set. And property change should be nullable. Icon pack view model. Kinds, groups, kind, property changed. Let's see. Kinds, group, kind. Let's see. That one has a fallback on kind, so we don't have to worry about that. Kind, it needs to be nullable, which fixes that. And then property changed. The last one. Public stack snack bar. Let's see. That guy. It's a little unlikely. Generate demo items. So that really can't be null. Why is snack bar? I think in this case I'm going to go with it set in the XAML and initialize component's going to do it, and there's just no way for it to know about it. Now, what is going on here? Am I missing something? Is this guy just... I'm a little curious. Static read-only field. Why is... Okay, what is this guy used for? Find all references. Oh, he's static just so that something else can reach out and touch him. Yuck. Yuck. Man, I don't like that. We'll do this for now. It's highly wasteful because that value is going to get thrown away. But I think it's the simplest. Turn that off. It's the simplest solution. And ultimately, it's the wrong way to do that communication between the chips view and this anyway. So at some point, I need to go back and revisit how some of this demo app stuff is done and maybe leave some better examples. So let's see. Set secondary color. Are you... You are not hip to the idea of... What are you suggesting here? Huh. I like it. Set secondary color. Accent exemplar hue. So you... Thing is, there's no guarantee that there are any accent hues. I think what we do is this. If this comes in... Yeah, I'm not going to get... Okay. Let's see. Block body. So if... Just grab this big, ugly, obnoxious bit. Let's see. If... Let's see. Accent. Then we'll do that. Wait. That doesn't cause an issue. But that does? Huh. That seems like a bug. I guess I don't really need to pattern match, though, on this guy. Or, I mean, I don't need to assign into a local. So, for those people who aren't familiar with it, this is property pattern matching syntax. And the not null is C#9 new patterns. Yeah, we'll go with that. Okay, so what do we got here? Selected date. This is even straight up calling dot value. So we're going to do this. And we're just going to pattern match our way to victory again. Is date time selected date. Now we get rid of all this. Selected date. There, fixes that. Validating time. What else are you unhappy about? Property changed again. So we're going to clean you up, and then okay, so this is one thing that always bothers me. I see this mistake happen a lot. You don't want to blindly be raising property changed all the time. The correct pattern looks like this. So if date not equal to value, right? The problem with just always assigning and raising property changed is property changed may not be a cheap operation. So based on the number of elements and number of bindings that you have on your UI, it can actually get quite expensive if you start raising property changed if the values aren't changing. So the wastefulness is if the incoming value matches the original value, you should just early exit rather than wasting time raising property changed. Are you about to figure it out and write the pattern for me? Wait, seriously? You figured it out from that? Okay. You reduped a few areas. So you lose points for that. But you get, and you added an extra level of parens there. So I gotta do a little cleanup from the mess you left me in telecode. But that's pretty good. That is pretty good. Okay, I think what I am going to do, so I'm going to once again leave this moving to specifying nullable in build props file, starting work on demo app. I think I'm going to leave it there for tonight and probably call it good enough. So if anybody else saw this and thought, hey, that looks easy and you want to take a crack at it, I am perfectly happy to accept pull requests. Just make sure that they're targeting the nullable reference types branch, which is out on the main repo. So if anybody wants to help contribute to it, if not, not a big deal. I'll probably be picking it up and poking at it. Like I said, it's my intent to get this in with the 4.0 release because this is a breaking change. And so while we're doing a major version rev, I'm trying to break all the stuff possible. So that way people can just take one lump of breaking changes rather than a bunch of little ones. So with that, I'm going to say have a good night. I'll be signing off. Happy coding to everyone. Thank you guys for joining and hanging out. We'll see everyone next week.